We're now going to look at an alternative method of graphing, and that's graphing using intercepts. And this works primarily because we're dealing with linear equations whose graph is a straight line. So if the graph is a straight line, then all we need is 2 points, and there's 2 points that can be really easy to get depending on the equation. And so let's look at, as our first example, suppose we have 2x plus y equals 2. And we're told that we need to graph using the intercepts. Now remember that the intercepts are wherever our line crosses either the x-axis or the y-axis. And so that means that one variable, is 0. So we're just going to use a simple point plotting technique. We're going to put a 0 in for the x here and a 0 in for the y here. And then when we do that, we get 2 times, because we're plugging in 0 for x, plus y equals 2. Well, 2 times 0 is just 0. So this means y equals 2. And so we get a point at 0, 2, and that's our y-intercept. That's where we cross the y-axis. We can do the same thing with our other variable at y equals 0 this time. And then we get 2x equals 2, which we solve by dividing by 2. Divide out the 2 in front of the x. Also happens to divide out the 2 on the other side, and we get x equals 1. So our other intercept is at 1, 0. And so this gives the points 0, 2, and 1, 0. And then we just draw our straight line straight through those 2 points, and we have our answer. Now this works really, really, really well whenever both the number in front of the x and the number in front of the y, even if it's a hidden one, divide evenly into the constant on the other side. So let's show another example. Suppose that we have 3x minus 4y equals 12. Again, we want to do this by x and y. So we let an x be 0, and we let our y be 0. So we get 3 times 0 minus 4y equals 12. Well, the 3 times 0 goes away, so we just have minus 4y equals 12. Divide both sides by a minus 4. And we get that y equals negative 3. Or a point at 0, minus 3. For our x, we plug in 0 for y. So we end up with 3x equals 12. Divide both sides by 3. And we get that x equals 4. So we get a point at 4, 0. And with just these points, we get a point at 4, 0, and at 0, minus 3. Draw our line through them, and we get our graph. Now the only thing you have to be careful of when you're doing intercepts is that you deal with the case where the constant is 0. Because notice that in both cases, if I plug in 0 for x and 0 for y, I'm going to get 4 times 0 minus y equals 0. So minus y equals 0, which means y equals 0. Because if you change both signs, the 0 still stays 0. And so I get 0, 0, which means if I plug in 0 for y, I'm also going to get 0 for x. And since I've only got 1 point, then I need to come up with another one. So I'm going to pick a value for x, let's say 1, just to get an extra point. So 4 times 1, and I'm picking the x because it's the bigger of the two. That gives me 4 minus y equals 0. Subtract 4 from both sides. Minus y equals minus 4, and when we change both signs, we know that we get 4 is our output. So the 2 points that I'm going to use are 0, 0, and 1, 4. And this then gives me my graph at 0, 0, and 1, 4, and now I can draw in my line. But I had to come up with an extra point because I only had the one intercept.